You're right, of course. They evolved on the southern plains over 50 million years from a critter called a Hyracotherium, which is about the size of a collie, into the modern horse. That took millions of years. And fairly late in that story, that is to say only 2 or 3 million years ago, they migrated along with all kinds of other animals. Camels, for example, evolved alongside horses.
That's crazy.
In the Southwest. And they made that trip, over Beringia, over the land bridge there.
Bering Strait.
Yeah, into what was the largest pasture on Earth, Central Asia. And there their population exploded. And there they continued to evolve. They became zebras, headed south into Africa.
That is crazy.
They became, asses. So all the equids evolved from those horses coming out of New Mexico.
That is so crazy. The zebras came out of New Mexico.
That's right. Pushing far back enough. That's right.
Wow.
So they boomed over there. But, at the end of the last ice age, at the end of the Wisconsin glaciation, the world changes. We're going through a kind of a climate change, as we have today, warming. And that changes the ecology completely, and all kinds of animals, especially in North America, became extinct. Dozens of species became extinct.
It's like 65% of all North American large megafauna.
Yeah, yep. We had an American lion. We had, of course, the saber-toothed tiger, the Smilodon.
American cheetah.
The American cheetah.
Yeah.
We had armadillos the size of Volkswagen bugs.
Really? Up until when?
With this extinction.
Wow.
And
so 12,000, 13,000 years ago, there was giant armadillos.
That's right.
Wow.
So, they would run over cars. The cars didn't run over them.
Wow.
And, the list just goes on and on. All of these animals suddenly disappeared partly because of this ecological change. Now, there's an argument that it wasn't just that. The question is, okay, the lion goes extinct in America. Didn't go extinct in Africa. Horses go extinct in America. They didn't go extinct over there. But it was a global change. So what's the difference? The argument is people. People by that point had just been able to make their way over in the other direction. Beringia was a two-way street, a two-way highway, and there were animals coming over from Asia at the same time that American animals are going over in the other directions. Buffaloes, bison evolved in the old world, and then they came over here.
Where did they originate from?
Central Asia.
Wow.
Yeah. And also parts of Europe. There was an animal called auroch that was a descendant also of them.
Were they just as furry? Did they look similar?
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe they changed
and
evolved.
they were quite different from the ones today. The ones that came over that dominated were called bison antiquus or bison latifrons. They were much larger, much larger. Bison antiquus, if you can imagine one now, it has the bulls had these, the horn spread just like ours do. The horn spread of a bison antiquus was great enough that LeBron James could lie down between the tips of the horns and not touch either one.
Wow.
So there were these gigantic bison. They became extinct, and they were then replaced by or followed by our bison, bison americanus. Yeah.
Have you ever read into the Younger Dryas impact theory?
Into the what now?
Younger Dryas impact theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Randall Carlson has been on my podcast multiple times. He's a proponent of that, and there's a lot of scientific evidence in terms of core samples and microdiamonds that seem to indicate that around 11,800 years ago, North America and a good 30% of the world was hit when we passed through a comet shower. And that was the end of the Ice Age, and that it happened not just then, but it happened another time, somewhere in the 10,000 range, and that was what melted almost instantaneously most of the North American ice cap that covered half the continent and miles of ice and all that. and that he thinks that that was the origin of the mass extinction along with human beings.
Yeah.
There was a combination of those two things.
Yeah, I've heard that idea, but
Yeah.
I frankly don't know enough about it
I'm trying to
have
bring
an opinion.
Randall together with someone who is an expert like Dan Flores. I
Yeah,
would love to
yeah.
bring Randall and Dan Flores together so they could sort of compare notes, because
Sure.
both of them are working on the same problem from different angles.
Yeah. Well, it's a fascinating one, and it has to do, of course, with what we were talking about a little earlier. Human groups, right? People who were here. What effect did that have on them?
Yeah.
Does that explain, some of these sudden declines of populations? Don't know.
Well, it's so interesting that we still have some animals left over, like the pronghorn antelope,
Right.
that moves at speeds that don't make any sense considering the predators that are available
That's
for it.
right.
They're
That's
so much faster than everything else because they had to evade the North American cheetah.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, there's a wonderful book called Ghosts of Extinction, and that's exactly along those lines. Also, pronghorns can't jump fences.
Right, they go under them.
Or they go under them or try to go through them, but they can't
Yeah.
go over them, and that's because no fences back then.
Right. Yeah, pretty
They're
wild.
faster than hell. They can outrun
Yeah.
a lion, but they can't jump a fence.
You would think that something that could run that fast could also jump.
You'd think.
Do you think if you gave them another million years, they'd figure out how to jump fences?
I feel pretty confident they would. Right.
Because white-tailed deer do it like they're born to do it.
Right.
Like a fence to them is just like stepping over a branch.
Oh, I know. We have a place out in the hills in Arkansas, and it's like you said, they're overrun with deer. Yeah.
There's a place called Catalina Island in California where
Sure.
what they're trying to do now is use snipers and helicopters to wipe out the deer population. Because
No
there's
kidding.
Yeah, because they're on an island and there's no predators,
Right.
which is a shame. It's a horrible shame.
They starve.
Yeah, they
Right.
starve, diseases, CWD. There's a lot of different diseases that they can get hit with because of this overpopulation.
Yeah. And of course, that's the kind of context that you can put in the decline of native peoples here. What we're doing is messing with the ecological arrangement in ways that make it impossible for certain for animals that have adapted to that to survive.
Yeah.
The difference was, of course, is that Indians are human beings, and human beings have the imagination to imagine a different way and to respond to it in ways that others can't.
What's one of the more fascinating and horrific aspects of the story of the decline of the native population in America is that they had this incredibly unique life.